Hello English learners and welcome to Slow Grammar. I want to look at something curious about our language and how we speak, and it is this. When you tell someone about a film you watched the night before, you would be most likely to use the past simple tense. I watched that film last night. Whereas, if you're talking about a piece of music, a song that you listened to, you would be more likely to say, I was listening to that last night. I can't say for certain whether past continuous is the most used tense in this case. I suspect that it is. But what I can say for certain is that we would be much more likely to use past continuous when talking about a song than we would when we are talking about a film. And I want to take a look at why that might be. So one of the reasons we use past continuous is when the action we're talking about is ongoing during another action which we also want to talk about. For example, I called my boss while my team were finishing the reports. And one thing that comes to mind in this music versus film comparison is the fact that historically music is much more commonly an accompaniment of other activities than films are. I think that the prime and perfect example of this is dance. So humans have probably danced to music for as long as there has been music. And that, I think, deeply roots this notion of music being an accompaniment for another significant and important activity. On top of this, since records and radios and tapes have existed, music, I think, has long since been an accompaniment for work, housework, cooking, getting ready, etc., etc. And this certainly can not be said of films. There's another principle of the use of past continuous, and it is an even deeper one. And it is this. We use it when we're not concerned about the finished action, the completed action. And so when we talk about something that we consume not in countable pieces, then we lean again towards past continuous and away from past simple. And I think there are two reasons why music has this tendency more than film does. The first is again historical, and it is that I think before music was written down, it probably didn't exist so much in the form of definite complete pieces of music, definite complete items. And it was instead probably a lot more improvised and a lot more continuous. And so I think we do have the sense still of music not existing so much in complete items as we do for films. The other reason is that with a piece of music, you are much more likely to listen to it repeatedly. So listen to it and then replay it and then replay it again. It's much more common than a film where you watch it and then watch it again straight away. You know, if you listened to a song 5 times, it would be weird to say, I listened to that song last night. You would either say, I was listening to that song last night, or you would say, I listened to that song 5 times. And now, even if you only listened once, this general tendency, this general preference of past continuous still exists, and that is for all of these reasons that I have mentioned. Now, having said all of that, I would argue that the way we consume visual media, films, etc. nowadays is changing culturally in such a way that past continuous is becoming increasingly appropriate. And there are two reasons for this that I want to point out. The first is that it is normal now to watch more than one episode of some series in one sitting. Back in the day, if something was on the television, like The Office for example, we all know on TV last night at 9 p.m. was The Office. And we would say the next day, I watched The Office last night. Did you watch The Office last night? But the way it works now is that you find the streaming service that has The Office and you watch a few episodes. So there's no definite item. It's more of a continuum, unless of course you quote the number like in the example before. And so it would be more likely to say I was watching The Office last night if it was 3 episodes. The second reason is that there is now a greater tendency to have visual media, episodes, films on in the background as an accompaniment to other activities. Like for example, scrolling on your phone, or even doing housework, or doing schoolwork or homework. And at any rate, there is a tendency to only watch films with partial attention. So this notion of visual media, films being something in the background, being an accompaniment, is also becoming stronger, I believe. And we can see this, I think, quite clearly in how films are made these days, and they seem to me to be designed such that you can stop paying attention for a while, and then when you focus again on what's happening, you're not actually lost.